Hello, and let's continue our discussion. I hope that was a good one for you. No, so we were looking at the definition of research, and we were saying that research is a systematic effort to gather, analyze, and interpret. Those are three very important movements. And please do not forget that how you gather, how you analyze, and how you interpret data should manifest a systematic effort, and that the data that you actually gather, analyze, and interpret should be doing three very important movements: describing, evaluating, and prescribing or suggesting interventions on how certain characteristics, behaviors, and interactions among people and between organizations affect each other. It's very important to pay attention to this definition precisely because the types of questions that you will generate should eventually be able to do the three that we have mentioned: describing, evaluating, and then prescribing. So we've already looked at the other definition about about research as a critical investigation of hypothetical relations. So today, very quickly, I like us to look at the different dimensions of research. When we say dimensions of research, these are the things that we have to consider whenever we are doing research. And what are the things that we need to consider whenever we are doing research? First, there has to be a conceptual dimension. And when we say conceptual dimension, this basically begs the question why we do research. And many students sometimes do not understand why we need to do research, but it's very important to consider why we do research. That's the conceptual dimension. There is also a second dimension, which is the substantive dimension. And the substantive dimension provides us with the substance, and begs the question, therefore, what determines the contents of research? Can I simply put anything in my research? Can I simply insert all that I want in research? And we know, and perhaps you'd understand by now, that's not really possible. No, there is a condition that determines the contents of the research. And the third dimension is the operational dimension, which provides us with an idea on how we can arrive at answers or solutions to the problems to the research problems that we actually raise. When we look at the conceptual dimension of research, we come to a point where we understand that research is a process. It's a process. So it's not something that's automatic. It's not something that you can simply do. It's a process. So it's a step by step. That's what process means. It's a step by step manner, and therefore it's systematic, that attempts to seek solutions or answers to problems. As such, it cannot simply be bara-bara in Filipino, anything goes. It cannot simply be anything goes. There has to be a step-by-step process in which and by which we consider these steps from the problems that we raise to the answers or solutions that we arrive at. Which tells you already as early as now that not all questions are research questions, and which tells you also that the research questions, because they are limited, also provides us with a limited set of acceptable solutions or answers, so that not all answers or solutions are responsive to research problems, and not all problems are researchable. And I'm telling that to you as early as now. Second, research is a process of applying the scientific method. So what determines the contents of research? What actually falls within the purview of the scientific method, which basically means that if it does not follow the scientific method, and by scientific method, we're not limiting it only to quantitative modes, but also to qualitative models. We will now understand that only those questions and processes that are acceptable to the scientific method, as I explained in the previous lecture, is in fact acceptable as research problems. No? And lastly, how do we basically arrive at solutions? Well, this is something that you have to understand. We arrive at solutions by testing hypotheses, verifying theories, or even formulating theories. And that's the addition to this slide. Let's look at that. What do you mean by testing hypotheses? I've already told you'd see that even before you begin in the research process, you actually do not enter into the research problem tabula rasa. You always already carry within you a specific set of questions whose answers you most probably already have researched on when you have surveyed literature or when you have checked existing literature. When you do that, therefore, you already enter into the problem with accepted or presumed answers. These presumed answers are intelligent ones because they're based on your readings and in your own initial research, and therefore you want to test whether it's true or not. Now, when you test hypotheses, that can also mean, on the one hand, you verify theory, which means somewhere in the world they have proven this or discovered that, and you wanted to check whether that also applies to us here in the country or not. If it does not apply to us, then you still verify theory, right? If it applies to us, then you have also confirmed theory. No, in quantitative research, you have to understand when a particular test of difference is not significant, there's no story there. The story becomes significant precisely when it does not agree with the general trend or the general direction. The same is true for qualitative research. Qualitative research actually magnifies instances that does not agree with the general flow or movement. In a way, whenever we highlight test of significance or test or even relationships, especially when it becomes significant, the R, or whenever we highlight new instances in the data that we have discovered, that those are actually opportunities or in fact instances in which we can create theory. What do we mean by that? Create theory. We mean that though basing on already existing theories, which means we scaffold on the basis of already existing theories, we build on further theories as we move forward. There are 3 dimensions to research. One is the conceptual dimension, which basically asks, what do we do in research? And research is actually seeking answers or solutions to problems. The substantive dimension that asks what determines the content of the research. And we say research is the process of applying the scientific method. And therefore, there's a method that we apply. Third, the operational dimensions, how we arrive at answers and solutions. Well, basically, by testing hypotheses and therefore by not going to the field empty-handed, no, but always already with a target in mind. And by doing so, we either verify theory, unverify theory, or invalidate theory, or better yet, develop theory on our own. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll see you in the next slide. and in the next topic. Thank you.